Welcome, everybody, to the Bob Dodd Show. I have a pretty interesting show lined up for you today. I brought a friend in. He is an officer that is currently working kind of surveilled, or what's the right terminology for it?
Secret squirrel stuff.
Secret
right
squirrel
now.
stuff. There it is. But for keeping his identity closed for right now, I'd like to introduce Crash. Crash, thank you so much for coming on the show. It means a lot to me. We have a mutual friend, and he told me about you, and I was like, man, I have to get to know this guy. You, you have, for starters, you've lived a wild ride so far, and you're still a very young guy. So, I'm not sure what we can touch base on today, but I just want to remind you that we don't have to talk about anything that you don't want to talk about. And obviously there are some things that you just can't talk about. However, feel free to be yourself, and I have you blurred out, and no one's going to see your face.
Sorry, guys.
Oh yes, I forgot that. Stay in the small pocket. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Apparently the blur moves as you move. So
Stay right here.
Technology. How about it? But yeah, man, thanks for coming on, dude. You did have some things that kind of were blowing my mind a little bit, that you kind of were like, this is all public knowledge. Like, everybody has access to this information, just nobody thinks about it or looks about it. And you kind of wanted to highlight some things that was going on in Georgia, and kind of just all around the United States. But specifically because Georgia is a hub for so many different transportation hubs. I guess that's the hub.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that microphone needs to be like in front of you. Sorry.
There we go. There's so many things going on, and like you said, a lot of this information is publicly available through open source media. We've got, and a lot of people are just becoming and staying complacent with things like human trafficking, terrorism, just all kinds of crazy things going on in the world. And I walk out in public and I see all these people who are just complacent. They're not paying attention to anything. I was informed just before I came over here that not very far away at a local Publix that I think it was, by the time I got the information, it was like 36 to 38 hours prior, a girl went missing, and they have no idea. Like, she just vanished from the store. And so I'm like, my gears immediately started turning, like, is it happening here? And then I had to remind myself, yes, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Just because you may not see it, don't discredit that it's happening or not happening. It's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
It's happening worldwide.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things that you're really trying to bring in here is like, don't let it get too close to you, right? So like, there are some things that you can do to mitigate dangers just by being aware of certain things, having some kind of like what would you call, like, social awareness,
level of preparedness is kind of what me and my group kind of focus on. So situational awareness is a big thing, and that can be broken down individually if you're by yourself, or as a group. If you're with a group of people that you trust, just it's not crazy to have a game plan. If you and the family are going to Disney, right? A lot of potential dangers there with Disney. Now, Disney's typically a safe place, but there's a lot of kids going around. There's a lot of young women, young boys. Anything could happen. So going over with a game plan of whose job is what, to monitor everybody that you're with is never a bad thing, to have that game plan, right? You talk to the missus, you talk to, friends, family, whoever's with you.
Sure.
Hey, let's all have a job in this, and let's maintain it. We still have a good time. You don't have to let this thing control you to where everybody's not having fun anymore. But especially as men, we need to be more prepared than a lot of people think we need to be, because that mentality of, it's not going to happen to me. The moment you start getting comfortable with that, something's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That-
So just being prepared is the biggest thing. And there's so many things that you can do to be prepared.
mhm.
Um, in terms of, just being aware of your surroundings.
Yeah. Where you're going.
Yep, exactly. Prepare for where you're going. There's a thing that some people overlook. It's called the gray man theory, which is a lot of people think, oh, you need to be some super spy and whatever, you need to blend into all your environments. It's just not. The simple form is not standing out,
Mm-hmm.
but noticing everything. So you want to be that person that nobody really notices.
Mm-hmm.
You just look like some regular Joe Schmo,
Mhm.
and that guy's nothing. But meanwhile, maintaining that ability, you're noticing every single person around you,
Yeah.
right? And it's hard to do just talking about it, and you're just like, oh, I think I could do that, or I don't think I could. You can. It
Mhm.
does take a little practice.
Yeah.
But that's something to start. That's where your situational awareness will come into play, and you'll start learning that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're a big proponent because when we had talked prior, you said that you and a couple of your teammates are really into training and having almost in your personal life, you have your tactical awareness, your situational awareness, but you're actually thinking about developing a program for people. Is
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are. So, this is a group of people that I may or may not work with. Some of them I don't, but some of them I might. You never know. But it's a well-rounded group of individuals
Mhm.
that are like-minded, have experience in this world, this life, whether it be prior military, prior law enforcement, whatever. Everybody brings something to the table with their experience, and so with all of that, we are trying to come up with a new formula, essentially,
Mhm.
to help people just understand these different areas of preparedness.
Yeah.
Whether it be your basic, a new shooter,
Mhm.
who thinks, hey, I'm thinking about getting a gun for self-defense. Okay. Is it advisable just to go out and buy a gun and ammo and say you're good to go? No, you need training. Well, how are you training? Who's training you? Right.
Mhm.
You don't necessarily. I don't want to say you have to be trained by somebody who is prior law enforcement military. But in certain situations, it does help. But the responsibility of just that alone, you need to have the training.
Sure.
Just
Yeah.
buying a gun and owning it, loading a magazine up and keeping it in the nightstand, it never moves. That's not going to do you any good.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in a high stress situation, if you ever have to use it, where's your training at?
Yeah. I don't think enough people train at home.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And because typically it's not a legal requirement just to go buy a gun
Mm-hmm.
and have training. Some states, to have a carry permit, require a class,
Yeah.
right? So I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm a big proponent of the Second Amendment. I don't think you should legally be made to do that. But I'm definitely a proponent of highly advising.
If you're going to operate anything in life, whether if it's a car, a skid steer, a blender, I mean, you have to train up to a certain extent. So it's not for nothing to say you should have some training. I mean, like even with my own house, as you saw, you're here at the studio here, you saw what I'm dealing with and what I'm working with. It's like when the family is not home, when I get froggy enough and playful enough or whatever, I don't even pull my weapon out. But I use my hand and I quietly go through my motions through the house because, we have a ranch style home.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to be just getting bombarded by an unwanted person or unwanted criminal trying to break in and then just opening fire. Because as I was saying to you before you got here, like we talked about it, when you have a weapon, there's all sorts of different weapons that work for everybody, but that weapon is still going to penetrate these walls in such a small space. They need time to slow down.
Yes.
So-
and caliber selection, weapon selection, there are definitely some weapons that I would not, whether I be at home, if you have to, in my capacity or military capacity, going into a house looking for somebody or, combat, there are certain calibers and weapons that are not good for that because of that over penetration.
Yeah.
Right. Caliber and weapon selection is actually very important, but that is a good thing that you brought up, is that you do run through the motions. That's kind of already a step ahead, even though you don't have your actual gun in your hand. You're still going through the motions, and that is better than nothing at all, because a lot of people literally just get the gun, they put it in their nightstand or wherever they keep it, and that's literally where it stays.
Yeah.
So, oh, you have a gun? Do you go shoot? I don't really. Why not? I'm like,
yeah, I just got my gun for just in case.
In case. Train for the just in case.
Yeah.
I tell people, if you own a gun, like say you just wanted one, you just want a handgun, a shotgun, whatever. Okay, part of that responsibility. It's a perishable skill, right? So if you don't ride a bicycle in a long time, you typically remember how to ride a bicycle, but you're not as proficient. You got to work on it a little bit, right? It's a bicycle. You fall down, you get back up. It's not the end of the world. When you have to pull your gun, please tell me you know how to use it and you're ready to use it for what it's meant to be used for.
Yeah.
So I always recommend people, if that's the case, you need to go to the range at least once a month.
Yeah.
Once a month, shoot it. Shoot it for function. Shoot it, make sure the damn thing works,
Yeah.
Because last thing you want is pull that thing out, click, bang. You try to go bang and it goes click and nothing happened. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Do you have time to check, see if you actually loaded around the chamber? Is there a malfunction that's occurring internally that you can't see that actually needs maintenance on? Does a part need replaced?
Yeah.
Is your ammo good or not?
That's another thing. You just said something about, is there around, like, so I'm a person that carries with one in the chamber. For some people, not many people that I know, because not many people talk too much about, unless you're like, hey, I like guns. Do you like guns? Then you're talking about guns. But if your friend is like not really a gun person, that they don't get their rocks off by talking weapons, you don't continue that. But like some people that I know, they're like, oh no, I'll cock it when I'm ready.
Sure.
And then I sit there and say, like, what if you forget? What if you forget to do that? I think that in these situations that people can find themselves in, you are never going to know what's going to happen. It's an unknown completely. There's just there's no crystal ball for it, even if you practice 100 times.
Yeah, and then not carrying around in the chamber. There's one group on the planet that are proficient at drawing their weapons without a round in the chamber. And that's Israeli IDF. That is how they train. They carry, I'm pretty sure they still carry Glock 19s, and they train to carry around not in the chamber. Their method for drawing that pistol out and racking around in the chamber is impressive. And they're very proficient at it. But still, these people are not Israeli IDF.
Yeah.
How are you training? Who's training you to carry this way, right? Are you proficient enough?
Yeah.
The muscle memory it takes to, in a stressful situation when you need to draw your gun, just to turn the safety off if the gun has a safety on it, you will forget.
Yeah.
If you're not training if you're not training the same way every single time, you're not going to remember.
Yeah.
And you're going to squeeze the crap out of that trigger and nothing's going to happen. You're like, oh, I forgot to turn the safety off. Well, you're probably dead by then.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I am not a huge super fan of Glocks, but especially for new shooters, I do recommend the Glock.
Is that like the Glock 49 or what is it?
There's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many models.
Yeah, I mean, I personally just don't know too much about the Glocks, but
yeah, your most common for decades, your most common Glock was the 19, just because it was that perfect in between size between a full size and a compact. I think the term that is typically known as like the carry size, or what used to be, and now everybody's carrying like the little micro compacts,
sure,
which is great. That's not my choice of what I would carry, but. There's so many models, but they are dummy proof because it's got internal safeties, so you drop it, it's not going to go off like SIG 320. uh,
It's okay. I take it you're not a SIG guy?
I am to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
SIG has some really good pistols, like the P226 and the 220. Historically, are some phenomenal guns.
Yeah.
Still to this day, phenomenal pistols. That SIG P320.
Watch your
is,
toe.
man, just going off in holsters.
Yeah.
Mm.
This is the thing. Like, this is why I said I even though if I did have that computer hooked up and we could watch it and see what stuff's going on, I'm not allowed to play it. I don't think on the YouTubes. However, guys, there's so many videos out there about that gun, and check it out. They are kind of hysterical, kind of funny. At the same time, they're just like,
Pucker
man.
factor 9,000,
Yeah.
man. It is not a good thing. And then you've got people defending this thing. DJ.
Why? DJ, you got to speak up, man. Tell us why.
Oh, we know his opinion. But it's man, it's just, there's too many instances to where it's there's too many instances where it can't not hold merit at this point. I don't want any firearms company to have that issue.
No, it shouldn't have it.
That's a bad thing.
Are there any other like manufacturers out there that are having a hard time?
So I mean, historically, gun manufacturers have had issues. There was something. It was several years ago. Remington, their most famous gun, the Remington 700. There was an iteration, a generation for a while, and they caught it and they had a recall. It was something with the bolt. I couldn't remember if you would put. I think it was if you push the bolt forward, because it was a bolt action, like hunting, sniper rifle, whatever. When you push the bolt forward, some of them would actually go bang. Oh, so you're chambering that round,
and it's going off right there.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't remember exactly why that was, but I remember that being a thing. I think I was working at Academy Sports at the time, years ago. That was my first little real job that got me like messing with guns, outside of just growing up with them.
Yeah.
But I remember that being a thing. And so, I mean, you're going to have issues to a degree. I know when Smith & Wesson came out with their EZ pistol, it was designed for women. I always recommended people with arthritis because the slide was really easy to work. It was just a very simple gun. The magazine had a built-in, there were 2 tabs on each side, so you could literally, on the outside, push the tabs down as you were loading, so you didn't have to force the rounds in too difficult. Yeah, it was kind of like a built-in speed loader for the magazine. Wow. It was interesting. Not a bad gun. There was a recall on that one. There was some safety issue. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I mean, they're products.
Sure.
They're going to have issue. The issue I have with SIG right now is it seems very much so based upon their last few products that they've dished out. They're treating the customers as the beta tester. Oh. That's an issue. If I owned a manufacturing company of firearms, my quality control would be so tight, it would probably put me out of business. Sure. To a degree, because I'm not going to let stuff go out that's not foolproof. These guns aren't going to go off in people's holsters.
How do you control that with the users? I mean, like, for instance, like you might have a really fine product, and if you have somebody not using it correctly, cleaning it enough, or operating it, what do you think? Like, because California is all about blaming, the manufacturer on violence. So it's like you gotta like kind of step back from the manufacturer, give them breathing room, because they're not the user.
And that's where training comes into play again. Yeah. Right. So who's trained you to maintain your firearms? That's a big thing. Who's trained you just to operate it, just to load it correctly? I have been to training where police officers who have been trained, who have been policing longer than me, are loading bullets in magazines backwards. It's a thing. It's complacency. It's lack of training. Some people just get to the point where they just don't want to train anymore.
Yeah. Could it be age too? I mean,
I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to say it's age, because I know some really old FUDs that we may not agree with tactics or safety or whatever, uh, but they know how to shoot and they know how to load their stuff, and
Sure.
they're pretty safe with it. You know, it's their methods are a little skewed and kind of held in the past, but I know plenty that could hold their own.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
It not saying age can't be an issue. It could be, but I know enough old people around guns that know what they're doing to say that's probably not a main factor.
Yeah.
But hey, just make a product that doesn't go bang when it doesn't need to.
Yeah. I feel like that when you have an officer like that, I feel like officers, you know, number one, we need to give our officers more resources, not just training on how to fire guns, health training for their mind and their body and their soul. I know that you've experienced, you know, a lot of different things being on the job. Some we can't talk about it, but you know, I think that you'll understand when, you know, like when you go through a predicament and it's all said and done. People are expecting you. Well, I shouldn't say people, just like certain individuals, they handle things differently. Some people are like, yeah, man, you're a tough dude. I know you got this. You don't need any help. Other people are like, oh, he's not saying anything, so we're not doing anything. And I know that some police forces out there, they have their systems set in place. I just think that our cities and townships, our counties, whoever funds these officers to begin with, need to allocate different monies in order to have this like this landing place. So when they come try to land that plane after that turmoil, after all the crazy shit that just happened, you know, they need a safe place to land. And you know, I don't hear anything about that.
Yeah. And just to give the audience perspective, I'm not going to go into grave detail, but I was involved in a shooting. You know, it was kind of a close call, but I emerged victorious and healthy and safe. There are, in my experience with that is, in my experience, I was provided with a good bit of resources for the mental well-being. You know, if I wish I could give shout outs to the people that were directly involved in helping me, not going to do that right now, maybe at a later time. They know who they are if they watch this. They absolutely do. I've got people in my personal life. I've got people at the job that were absolutely there if I needed them. You know, to this day, amongst friends, I can take that situation and turn it almost humorous to a degree, while I still try and maintain respect for the dead. He's dead. Yeah. I'm alive. There's no need in dogging on the guy any more than everybody already did. Yeah. Right. For what he was doing.
And he was a criminal, guys, a real bad person.
Yes. It was yeah. So, but the resources I received were enough for me.
Good.
You know, and during that time, there was a lot of other things going on in my life that flooded immediately after. A lot of stuff with family, just everything, right? Just a lot of stuff going on in my mind that kind of overtook that.
Okay.
So I guess in a good way, the turmoil in my life kind of pushed that out. There were other people involved. One thing I noticed, and I think people who have been involved in a similar situation like me, when there are victims and victim family members, right? You deal with a situation like this, and then you look at surviving parties, right? And those surviving parties come to you. and they're thanking you for what you've done, what you had to do, all that good stuff. And it's a strange thing. I couldn't tell you how many domestic violence calls to where I end up having to arrest one of the parties involved, and then the victim of the crime, whether it be a woman getting the crap beat out of her, a woman, bashing the windows out of this dude's old Camaro, this collectible, just destroying property, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The victims, when they go to court or on scene, are fighting for the person that just did this act towards them, just committed this crime. And,
I see.
You're trying to help people you're helping people that don't want to be helped. And they don't realize that you're actually helping them.
Sure.
Right? In this situation, what's hard for officers to kind of, I guess, understand is that when you have something like this and you've got surviving members coming up to you, thanking you, it's like, I want to help you, but I can't do anything for you.
Yeah.
There's other officers that I know that have been in shootings as well, to where, a lot of the reasons for shootings is because they shot and killed somebody else, right? You see all these like school shootings, right? Yeah. Somebody comes into school and murders a whole bunch of kids. The officer that goes in and kills the bad guy. Okay, well, you just avenged all the kids' deaths. And the parents are probably going to flood this person thanking them for doing their job. They can't do anything. The officer can't do anything else for them.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help you. I can't bring your kid back.
Yeah.
So that's a tough thing to kind of grapple with.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even after an officer doing their gig, doing their job, just doing the thing that they were trained to do, that there would be that residual, that leftover kind of like, you can't even ask yourself, could you have done more? Because like literally you've done everything that you had the power to do.
And you still have a victim here.
Yeah.
That you are powerless to help further.
Yeah.
Like, can't bring your kid back from the dead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't bring your family members or friends back who are just murdered in this
situation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It happens all the time. It's everywhere. Yeah. Every shooting where there's victims who are killed, it happens. Right. Even for officers that don't end up having to shoot the bad guy, they arrest them.
Mm-hmm.
The family members and friends of those victims are still going to thank all the officers involved. It may not be in person. It may be just, they may be getting interviewed on the news. Oh, we thank the officers for doing their job. Thank you for arresting this person, getting them off the street, whatever. That's great.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah.
So it when people say it's a truly thankless job, it is, because you try and help these people on a daily basis that they need your help and they don't want it. But sometimes the people that need your help, you're almost powerless.
Yeah.
That's tough for a lot of officers. So that I came through with it. I was okay because I had the resources. Because
I'm glad. That's the case.
Yeah, that was an issue that a small issue I was having. I'm just like, man, come on, damn, like, what am I going to do with this? I came through with it, but a lot of people have trouble with that.
Yeah,
I know they have trouble with that. They may not say it. You can tell when somebody's got trouble with stuff.
Yeah,
and then there's some people that like me in the incident itself. I'm fine with it. I came out on top. He shouldn't have been doing that. I had to do what I had to do. Not going to hate myself for it.
Yeah.
He put me in that situation. That's usually how it goes in the moment for officers.
Yeah.
It's the act of that is not the issue. It's, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I can do,
Yeah. And it just makes me think about the officers that I know, especially back from where I came from, in Pittsburgh. They're all beautiful human beings, man. And, people have a perception of officers like, oh, they're just out to get me a ticket, or, oh, they're going to pull me over.
Yeah.
Or like, oh man, whatever scenario that goes in through people's heads. I mean, even I have that scenario when I'm driving my tractor trailer, when I'm driving, for my work, I see DOT and I'm like, I know my truck's cool, but they can pull me over just to check me out.
Yeah.
And it's those times where you have to sit there and say, I don't mind being that guy that gets checked out
Yeah.
because the officers have to practice, because if they don't practice, I mean, it sucks to think that you're practice, but like if they have to practice and if they don't, they're going to get, something worse is going to happen. Number two, like, what if I do have something wrong and I overlooked it? I'm an idiot for overlooking it. I'm an a-hole for overlooking it.
Safety, like, safety with your vehicle.
Yeah.
They could save you, could save somebody else. You didn't mean to let that axle rust out,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Do you know how many mattresses I avert on 85 and 285?
Oh,
Like,
that's a common call on the road.
Yeah. So like for the DOT workers and the people that are like always like out there trying to help people, because there's those dudes in the little green trucks that help refuel gas tanks.
Mm-hmm.
How many mattresses do you pick up a year, and where do you put them all?
Wait till you get a steer in the middle of the road, and then they call in like, "Hey, there's a big cow on the road," and you're like, you get there and you're like, "Oh, it's a cow," and then you see it and it's a steer with like Texas Longhorn. You're like, what am I going to do with this?
You're in the wrong state.
Yeah, like, dude, where did you come from? And he's just standing there in the middle of the road looking at you like, move me, I dare you. I'm like,
man,
call animal control. And then they get there and they're saying the same thing, like,
what do you want me to do?
what do you want me to do with this? I'm like, I don't know. Go smack him on the ass or something. See if he moves. They're like, you go smack him on the ass, dude. They're like, no.
Man, that's one thing.
That might be a true story.
Well, this is what I'm about to say. And like for all my friends that are police officers and firefighters and EMTs, man, God, thank you for having, the skills and abilities to do what you do on a daily basis, but also thank God for that funny bone still being attached, because sometimes,
Gotta have it.
yeah, sometimes the humor is just not there with some folks, and you know what? Sometimes it is, and you did not lose your funny bone, man. You
No, it got worse.
Yeah,
it got a lot more frequent and a lot darker.
Oh man,
I hear jokes that are normally I would not tell in front of certain people.
Sure,
and I'm like, well, I'm telling everybody that joke. I am telling everybody at work that joke. I'm telling everybody this joke. That is great.
Oh man, well, that is cool, man. Like that you have that going, and with circling back, getting to know you, I'm very happy to sit here and have this banter. When we first met, I did leave that establishment thinking to myself, like, I can hang out with that dude. What a nice person. Like, I didn't have to like work hard at conversation. You're pretty much into a lot of different things that I'm into. One of the things that you were talking about, and I'm only bringing this up because some people had asked if I just bring up film a little bit more, considering that I'm in film,
right,
and things like that. You dabble in writing a little bit, and you can talk about whatever you want to talk about here. We don't have to talk about it if you're not ready to, but like, you told me concepts and you told me some things that you were doing, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And out of all my experience, out of my going into 18 years now of being in the film industry, if I can call it that, since I had this last year off, basically, I haven't really heard anybody push an idea the way that you told me. And I thought it was like worth mentioning and worth talking about.
Yeah. So I guess I got into writing. I've done it for a long time. I just never really shared it with anybody. It was a hidden kind of de-stressor. I have a very wild imagination, right? If I listen to music, I'm thinking of, how would I make a music video for this? How would I implement this into a movie or a TV show, an action sequence, a romance, blah, 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 horror, comedy. So I just started writing just stories. Typically, I guess you could consider some of the stuff more fan fiction. I had, there were movies, shows, video games that I enjoyed. And so I wanted to kind of, or books already, that I kind of wanted to branch out and see what my mind could kind of put, from pen to paper.
Yeah.
And see how I could enter these different little universes, right? The first, I guess, considered big story I ever wrote was, it was when I first started in the police academy and started getting kind of an idea of what a law enforcement officer actually goes through versus what you see on TV and movies and stuff. So
Nothing like Police Academy, the movie,
no.
which is one of my favorite series, by the way.
It's absolutely hilarious, but horrendously incorrect.
Oh gosh.
But it's still a great film series. Hilarious. But so one of the it was a video game first, but it's designed like a comic book. It's called Max Payne.
Okay.
Mark Wahlberg. They made a little movie out of it at one time, but it wasn't great. I enjoyed it when I was a kid. Mark Wahlberg played Max Payne, but he's an officer. His family gets killed, murdered, and he's depressed. He's drinking. He's popping pills. So it's this very gritty, underworldly New York style thing, and it's all developed in like a graphic novel, comic book for like the little cut scenes that play out the story after you're done shooting bad guys in slow motion. And so I just kind of started writing, how would I write a Max Payne story? And I did my own thing on it. And I showed somebody in my life, and that person was like, dude, this is actually really good. This is actually not bad. And so every once in a while, I just take out a little notebook and start writing little stories here and there. But recently, and I've always been a film guy. That is one of my biggest hobbies, is watching film. My favorite film of all time is Blade Runner.
Okay.
Love Blade Runner. Love Alien, the original. Love that stuff. Anything Ridley Scott does, for the most part, is A-okay.
Nice.
So then I just started writing little things. And when I got with this group that I'm in, we all started, a couple of years ago, we started going seeing movies together. Started to go see John Wick. Saw Dune. Started seeing all these movies and stuff.
As a group, which is pretty cool.
As a group, yeah. Because this is my group that I'm very tight with. Y'all know who you are. Shout out to the boys.
What's up, boys?
Boys with a Z.
Boys. My bad boys. Check
See?
it.
And so anytime I write new characters, I write them based on people I know. And usually I will, in my head, because right now I'm kind of dabbling like 2 or 3 screenplays that I'm trying to do. Just for fun. If it goes somewhere someday, great. If not, at least I have it for entertainment, and the guys can see it and everything, and they enjoy the hell out of it. So I write these things based on them. I'm like, how would they react in these situations? And so each character I write for a specific person in my life, a friend, family member, whoever, because I just imagine them in these roles. I'm basing these people off of people I know. And it comes out a lot more realistic for me. The dialogue comes out pretty realistic. And there's been a couple times where I've had a very basic, generic dialogue. And like just recently, I handed them one of my stories. And I'm like, hey, pass this around. Write your dialogue in here, what you would say in this situation.
This is where I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people that would relinquish that power and give it to the folks that they trust.
It's so in the story I'm talking about, we discussed it. It's based in the SCP universe. Not going down that rabbit hole, but y'all probably know what SCP is. If you don't, Google it. It's wild. But essentially, in theory, a tactical team going into kind of like, Resident Evil has the Umbrella Corporation has their little hit squad that goes in, deals with the zombies and everything. These guys are essentially brought from all over the world, special operations groups from all over the world, and they create this tactical team that goes and deals with extraterrestrial, supernatural, just entities, creatures, whatever. And so I'm a huge fan of cyberpunk stuff. I'm a huge fan of tactical stuff, but I'm also a huge fan of Lovecraftian horror. That stuff is wild. So I thought to myself, Lovecraftian horror, like Cthulhu and all that, anytime you see and get exposed to these entities in this world, in this universe, the main thing is people just start going nuts. They start going mad. They start losing their minds, people start turning on each other and just doing all these things they normally, these are, you have to think in this story, these are, these are like Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Russian Spetsnaz, British SAS, German GSG. These are the top boys in the world. Like, there's nobody that tops these guys. Okay, so they're trained to deal with worldly issues, humans, terrorists, the baddest of the bad. Now you're pitting up against stuff that is relatively new to them. And some of the stuff you can't combat by general means, guns, knives, explosives. It ain't going to cut it. So now their minds have to work this out, and it usually doesn't end well.
Yeah.
And so I wanted them to have that input of dialogue. Hey, I've seen you guys stressed out, but I haven't seen you guys really stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do in this situation? Think really hard and put down. And of course, we understand the lingo of how these guys speak and talk.
Yeah.
So I can give you I give a basic generalized statement of how these guys are moving and operating and the communications that they're having. But, you know, I got a guy who's in this group who's a SWAT officer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He trains with SWAT team all the time. So there might be a few little extra nuances there that he could be, oh, hey, this would be good for this. Not here, swap this around real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Or, hey, instead of saying this, let's say this real quick. Pull this over here for that time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's a good idea, right? You know, I know a couple paramedics that I might include in this. You know, hey, in this medical situation, how would you fix this guy up? What would you do? And they could write that into the script, right? So I like to pull from everybody. I got a guy who is we're all Christians in this group, and that's we can get into that in a little bit. But,
Sure, yeah.
We're all Christians, so we all believe in. We generally have a rough understanding of everything. We generally believe pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really coordinate with a denomination, but we do have one guy in the group that is very much so more in tune with it. And so if I have a question, I'm going to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I'll go to him. I'm like, hey, in this situation, when these guys actually need to start praying, what are we praying about?
Yeah.
You know, add that in somewhere, write that down. You know, I want it to be as realistic and reactive as possible as how, you know, if we were in this situation, if this is us, what would we all do?
Mm-hmm.
So I like them to help me. They have a general understanding. They have a broad script.
Mm-hmm.
I like the inclusion.
Yeah.
Because you never know where a good idea might come from.
True.
You know, that's a team mentality thing.
Mm-hmm.
So on tactical teams, SWAT, SEALs, Delta Force, all these guys that deal with terrorists, gang members, murders, all these crazy things that they have to go in and get the baddest of the bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Team mentality. Just because the new guy is the new guy doesn't mean he may not have a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
You got to listen to everybody's ideas because he may have just said something ingenious. And if he's afraid to speak up, you'll never know what it is. And y'all might get into some really nasty stuff that his idea could have saved the whole team.
Yeah.
Right. So I like team mentality. So that's why I want my team to be a part of what I write.
Yeah.
Like, hey, give me your input, write it down, add it, take away. I don't care. As long as by the end of this, we've all chipped in and it looks good and it's solid and we can do something with this possibly, I'm good. Change it up. Change every word if you need to, if it just sounds like crap. I don't care.
That's cool. It's cool that you have buddies and friends that are close enough that will do that with you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'll send them little bits here and there, and I'll send it in a screenshot of a text or something, and they'll add like the little double eye emoji that's like looking over like a jaw drop thing. They're like, "Oh, dude, that looks good."
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's a de-stressor nowadays for me for writing. It's one of my many little. I tried to find little hobbies that weren't directly involved with guns and tactics. Even though I like my guns, there's some days where I need to take a step away. You know, I don't need to be surrounded by it all the time because guns are a part of my life for the job.
Yeah.
Police officers, military, we all carry guns, right? I have to be able to step away from that and not let it control the day to day.
Sure.
I can always have it around with me.
Mm-hmm.
Always know where it is. Always train with it. But some days I just need to, hey, it's sitting over here. It's there.
Yeah.
I know where it's at. Let me focus on this up over here.
Yeah.
Take a little break.
That's actually a really interesting, maybe another thing that we can talk about with police officers in general. I think that when they're going through their daily life, just because I know that they do certain things in order to
The routines.
like alleviate, I mean, like one of my friends, we motorcycle ride, and dude, and I love watching him carve out the roads. You know, he gets on his his Ducati, dude, and he's like, "Well, I'll drive." I like being behind him. I like watching him do his thing, and I can only imagine, and he doesn't talk about it, but like he's hitting them corners pretty tight, nice speed, you know, with his skills and everything, and not doing anything dangerous. But you could tell like he's taking something out today. He's like, you know, he's letting something go today.
Yes.
And you know, you try to sit there and think, well, there's other officers that do certain different things. I don't know, like, man, it sounds like the writing helps you quite a bit. Do you have any other hobbies that alleviate some of the things that just on a daily basis, like rough you up a little bit in your brain?
Yeah. So that movies, love TV shows if they're good. Last of Us Part 2, y'all need to do better.
They can't see you.
I know. Just know I'm looking at you. That was rough. Bad. But no, seriously, you know, I like sitting down and watching a movie. I will watch black and white movies, old movies. I like old movies. Seven Samurai, top 3, man. Another movie. If anybody hasn't seen this movie, you're nuts. You need to watch this movie. It is called A Face in the Crowd.
Okay, well, I'm going to write this down. Hold on.
See, he's nuts. He hasn't seen this movie, and he's worked in the industry. 20 years.
Well, so I was in. Well, how old is it?
Oh, 50s. I think it was 1950s.
There's a possibility I've seen it.
It was Andy Griffith's like breakout role before he was in the Andy Griffith Show.
Okay.
It's called A Face in the Crowd.
Oh, wow. See, once again, I'm sure I could bring this up. I have it here. Yeah, Andy Griffith. You know what's funny is ambitious young radio producer. Okay.
It's an excellent movie.
I want to watch it.
Man, I haven't sat down. Like, I'm the type of person that I can get up and go to the kitchen and still listen to the movie and understand what's going on and still pay attention while I'm like making some food or making a drink or something. I had been wanting to watch this movie for so long, and I knew what type of movie it was. It's a film noir, so it's that deep black, white, you know, that's going to be gritty. It's going to be tense. It's not really violent, but the story is just very gripping, and I knew that going into this. And I'm a huge Andy Griffith fan in general.
You're very detail-oriented. That's one of the things that, like, in the short amount of time that I've got to hang out with you and be around you, you're definitely very detail-oriented.
Yeah,
and I like how you are able to speak about it.
It's if it's something I don't enjoy, I'm not detailed at all. But if it's something that I enjoy, yes, very
nice.
And especially movies, I absorb the hell out of them. I literally knew I was going to have a good time with this movie because I'm a huge Andy Griffith fan in general, and I was excited to see because there's one other movie he was in where it wasn't he wasn't funny. It's A Murder in Coweta County.
Whoa!
It's based in Coweta County, and Johnny Cash played the sheriff.
Is that what it's called?
Yes, A Murder in Coweta County. Andy Griffith was the killer.
I got to write down something else, folks. Keep talking, bro.
So I literally went, and I was having an issue with drinking just too much a while back ago. Not for any reason. I was just bored, and I just started drinking a little more than I normally would. So I cut severely back, but that night I went and grabbed a really nice bottle, and I got me a little glass, and I sat down on the recliner, played that movie. And I think it's like 2 hours and something minutes.
Oh, wow.
I did not get up, and I drank whiskey, and I watched this movie to its completion, and I was so close to starting it over. It was that good. A lot of people compared it today to Trump's presidency, the first go-round.
Oh, wow.
About how, this non-politician coming in, basically being a politician. Now, he's not a politician in the movie, but he just becomes this wild force of media influence. And he like everybody just loves him, and he starts getting on commercials. People start, bringing him into government speeches like, "Hey, we've got Lonesome Rhodes with us here today."
Oh,
He just starts showing up everywhere, and so he had so much influence and pull in people's decisions. But he was a self-destructive person.
Okay,
alcoholic, drugs, all this stuff, and just it just eventually he just crashed.
Yeah.
You know, he had this. He had, you know, he's in the beginning of the movie. He's in a drunk tank, just sleeping off being drunk,
Man.
right? And he sings in this movie and plays the guitar, and it's really him doing the stuff. And he's a good singer, and he plays mean guitar too. And
Nice.
you know, I'm a blues fan, so he's very bluesy throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
And it's that Andy Griffith charm too.
Okay.
You know, so most of the movie he's pretty happy-go-lucky. It's that quick-witted, that Southern charm, that respectfulness.
Nice.
But behind closed curtains, he's a totally different person.
Okay.
Very interesting movie. Very interesting movie. Now, I don't quite agree that it was like necessarily like Trump's presidency, but the similarity of a non-politician all of a sudden having a lot of political influence and pull. That's how it was very like this dude's kind of a celebrity, and now he's like getting into politics and stuff. So that's where the similarity comes into play. So movies, big hobby. A lot of people call me a nerd for this one, and some people may not know what this is, but I started getting into model kits, but it wasn't your typical like planes and tanks and cars and stuff. They're called Gunpla.
How do you spell that?
Gunpla.
Oh, Gunpla.
Gunpla.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
They are based off of the anime from the 70s, Mobile Suit Gundam. It's essentially a precursor to Transformers. Transformers are autonomous. The Gundams are piloted. So they're piloted by a person. But it came out in the 70s before Transformers.
Okay.
And it kind of set the stage for like mecha cartoons and anime. And back in the day, they started creating toys, and then they started creating model kits. And it has advanced over time. And what I like about them is I'm not a painter, but it does require a lot of attention to detail because there's instructions. They're all in Japanese, but it has pictures. And it has these little, all the pieces come in runners. They're like little big plastic pieces, and they got a little piece, and you got to nip them out with a special little nipper, and you snap them together. And it's really good for me because it actually helps my attention to detail because you can't mess up. I mean, you got to put the pieces exactly in order. You got to cut them out right, because if you don't cut them out right, there'll be a big plastic knob sticking out, and then you got to go in and file it down and do all this stuff and clean it up, which is part of the fun.
Sure.
But and also people call me a nerd, but I'm like, guys, what man doesn't like giant robots that beat the crap out of each other?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like, I don't know a single person that doesn't like Pacific Rim. Like, it's just the coolest. Big robots fighting each other and big monsters, which is what Gundam is.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm a huge fan of that. They look really cool when they're done. They're very beautiful. They're elegant. They got all kinds of colors and designs. There's so many of them out there. They've got little tiny ones. They've got medium, and then they've got some that are this size, and then bigger.
Oh wow.
In Japan, they actually have life-sized ones that are 1-to-1 scale. They are massive. There was one that actually moved.
Oh wow.
Like it could actually like walk out, and it was like it could actually move and stuff.
Yeah.
It's They moved it. It's stationary now. It's like in a pose or something in another area in Japan, but that's where it originated from. And there's a huge following behind it. I got all my friends' Gundam model kits, and they've yet to even start one. Guys, it's okay.
Come on, fellas. Come on.
No, but
break that seal.
It's really cool because it helps you focus on your attention to detail. It's something I enjoy. I've built several of them. Eventually, one day, I would like to get into building dioramas, like little battlefields, and kind of taking the ones that I've made and place and make them, do little, because they got their little guns and swords and everything. Just be kind of cool. It's just that more attention to detail. You're making something,
My boys and I will sit down and watch a YouTube channel. There's a bunch of them out there, and there's one of the ones trying to remember the name, but it's like Railroad something. But he doesn't just do railroads. He does many different types of models and dioramas. And one of the ones that he does, he'll take it's not an RC car in the beginning, but he takes the sort of like just a small miniature car. I don't even know they're smaller than Hot Wheels. And then he makes it an RC car, like a Jeep or a Land Cruiser or something like that.
So he makes it into this thing.
Yeah, he makes it into it. And then he builds it's not a course, it's a city that has a train, because everything he does deals with something with a train. And so there's a train that goes around, but it's big. It's probably as big as this table, and the train will go around. He has buildings, bridges, people posed. Sometimes he'll do animatronics with a bicycle that runs around the block. And then he'll drive his little miniature RC car.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And he'll make YouTube videos. And then you look down at his YouTube video. It's like, oh, wow, 14 million people watch this in the past year and a half since he's made it.
Models are a big deal, man. I knew
They're great.
Yeah. And it's, you're kind of creating something, right? And there's that, every time I finish a model kit, I just get a small feeling of success. Like, hey, I stuck with it. I built it.
Heck yeah.
I've started to get into there's versions that are, they could have 5 different versions of the same one, and they've got little differences here and there. And then you've got some serious, like, ultra detailed one that have like 10 times the parts. And so, one of their chest piece, maybe 1 or 2 parts on a basic kit. And then you go to a more advanced kit. It's like, hey, like 20 pieces make up that same chest kit. And then all the little micro vents and stuff can move and it can transform. Wow. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a progression.
Are
scale.
They expensive? They sound expensive.
So the prices vary. I mean, I've seen them. I mean, you can go to Target and get like the entry ones for like $15.
Okay.
Yeah. They're easy. And those, you don't even need a little tool to pop out. You just pop out the little pieces.
Yeah.
It's funny. I got one, the first one I actually got in years. It was from Target. Somebody got it for me, and it was actually a United States edition.
Okay.
And it actually had stickers that you could put on the shoulder pads and on the shield, and it was the U.S. flag.
Oh, nice.
So the color patterns, it was off the original. It was based on the original Gundam, because originally there was just one. It was based off that particular one. It just had a different color scheme and a different theme behind it. And then I was like, man, that was easy. I like that. And then I started looking up the different grades of them. That's how they differentiate the level of detail. They got grades. And I was like, all right, well, these are kind of small. These are kind of medium. Oh, these are big. Okay, I want the big ones.
Oh,
I just skipped straight to the big ones. And and the boxes on these things are massive. And then when you get done, the model kit's only like that big.
Oh, yeah.
But the boxes are huge because they're out in flat runners, and they just stack the box. And so I get the box in the mail, and I'm like, yeah, how big is this thing going to be? And then it's like a quarter of the size of the box. I'm like, okay, guys.
I'm sure. Do you keep the boxes as well? You fold them up and set them aside?
Oh, yeah. I got a plan for that.
My son does that.
The
collecting.
The cover art for the front of them are awesome.
Yeah.
And you can actually, there's some older ones to where you could tell they use some old school, like computer generated, like 90s video game graphics to make the designs of like how they're posed in space or whatever. But now you've got them, and they're just like, yo, that almost looks like it's like live action. It almost looks real,
Man.
I actually have one that was very limited. The Gundam that they made in Japan was original. So it wasn't from any of the shows or movies. They just made it original.
Yeah.
I actually ordered that kit. There was one left on Amazon. So I ordered it. That one was really expensive for what it was. But I built it. And on the front cover, it looked like the real one in a pose, and it was over the city in Japan. I can't remember where it was, but it was over the city, and you could see like all the real details of that city, like it was actually there. And then when I built the thing up, its little stand was actually the scaffolding that they built around it in real. So I'm like, it's that detailed,
man.
So I'm just like, yeah, the cover art's really cool. I'm keeping those. I'm gonna stack them up and make something out of it one day.
That's awesome. Yeah, man. So like, think about it. Like for all the people out there that have friends that are officers, there's layers to that dude, man, or that lady. That they might be cool, calm, collected to you, and like during a party or whatever, and if you don't know them that well, ask them if they like models, man.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I actually saw a dude. There's a guy who he's not an officer, but he works at where I work. And he drives a Dodge Challenger. And I was literally driving past, and I just happened to look in my rear view mirror, and I see his car parked out here. And there's a sticker on the bottom of his car. It says RX-93-V. which is the designation for my favorite Gundam model kit. And I was like, I need to find out who this person is. I
That's
don't know who this
hilarious.
is. And so finally I saw him like getting out of his car one day, and I slammed on the brakes and I turned on my lights, and he got scared, and I rolled down my window and I was like, hey, is that your car? He goes, yeah. And I was like, RX-93V, dude. He goes, yeah, Amuro Ray, which is the pilot of that Gundam. I was like, dude, I love it. I built that one. Love that movie. You know?
Dude, those little Easter eggs in human beings that we overlook too much.
Oh yeah,
You
I
find
scared
them
the
on-
piss out of him.
Yeah, I bet you did, man. I bet you he's probably mother effing you, and then all of a sudden you guys have something in common. He's like, "Oh man, that asshole! Oh,
It was hilarious.
that's a cool asshole."
It was hilarious. I started driving off. I'm like, damn, I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably should have just like, hey, instead of just screaming.
You
at
know
him.
what? You just validated something for me. So just because you did that, everybody wants to do that at some point in their life. Just turn on, like, I wish I had some police lights just to turn it down. Dude, we have these Amazon, for you guys listening out there, Amazon drivers. I know you're in a hurry, but come on, man. Really? Like, dude, Amazon driver is looking at his phone, obviously looking for an address, you know. He drives in my yard, okay? Not at like 10 miles an hour, not at 15 miles an hour. At like 30 miles an hour, he comes, and we don't have like a hard curb on my yard. It's like a nice roll up, you know? And it's like, that guy comes up in my yard, you know, a foot and a half into my yard, flying, and his, and I'm just like, he has no idea that I just witnessed it.
No idea. They are some of the most oblivious drivers, and I'm like, when you applied, you told them that you don't have a driver's license.
How do they
apparently.
not
Like, you
get
don't-
a ticket? Like, how do they not get pulled over?
Oh, I've given him tickets before.
Oh.
I had a dude literally just, he wasn't paying attention. He just ran off the road. All the Amazon packages are just scattered all over the place. And I'm just looking around. He's like, hey, can you help me pick this up? I was like, no.
Dude, it's funny. It's funny that you say that, because the dude who did that took a hard right at the one corner to go up this one little place. Boxes fell out. Boxes fell out. So he comes through here, rides in my yard, does the neighborhood, leaves. 20 minutes later, comes back, flying again, and makes the hard. He made a hard left. Sorry, he made a hard left, and stuff flew into my other neighbor's yard.
Did he notice?
Dude, no, he did not notice. And if he did notice, he didn't give a rat's ass. So he leaves. I go over and I look at the package, and it has nothing to do with our neighborhood, but it fell in his yard. So I just put it in front of his door. I have no idea what he did with it, but that, whatever it was a small little envelope, kind of weighty, you know, but man.
Let's hope his wife didn't open that up, and it would have been something.
Oh, dude, it you know what it felt like? It felt like a thing of posted cards. That's what it felt like. It was like that shape, and I was like, whatever. Could be pens, could be posted cards, whatever. It weighed like that, so I just set it there just in case if the Amazon driver came back. It wasn't in the yard. It was on someone's stoop. You know, like, hey,
back.
like we know, no, he never came back. Never came back.
That cat's insured. They can order another one.
Man,
We never received our order. Well, I'll tell you why.
dude, Amazon's getting crazy right now. Everything I order anymore with the 2-day delivery, it comes 2 days after it's supposed to come. I'm happy it comes, but you know,
It was funny, and it'll change the date of the delivery. So speaking of model kits, I ordered 2 at the same time. Ordered them a month ago.
oh man,
Ordered it. Okay, be here Friday. This one will be here Friday. Okay, this one will be here Monday. We're good. Ordered it like a Wednesday. I'm like, all right, it's fine. And then when I got the first one, I was like, sorry, well, let me see where the other one is. It said, and this was a month ago. It said delivery June 18th. And I was like, man, there's only one of these left, and it's coming to me. I'm not going to cancel this, but damn. And then today, I got a notification that delivery was attempted. And I'm like, it's a model kit. I don't need to sign for it.
oh man,
Just drop it on the front porch. Who cares?
that's crazy.
I,
Oh man, Amazon has delivered. So in my neck of the woods, for all you USPS workers out there.
Duh.
So, and Amazon workers and FedEx workers and my UPS guys. So I have a video. Okay. Well, I shouldn't say I have. I'm sure I could get it if I do the backup on the card. Amazon comes, literally like takes a picture of or like looks at it, scans it, drops it, takes a picture of it. FedEx, he didn't even come near my door. He just threw it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like one of the thing, like just rolled and hit. UPS comes. Okay. Now these are all boxes. They're not like things that you should be throwing.
Right.
UPS comes, sets his box down, which was not the biggest box, and then proceeds to stack the Amazon and then the FedEx box, together, and then he puts his box up on top in a nice little thing. So thank you, UPS.
Yeah.
And, yeah. FedEx, come on, guys. You shouldn't be throwing my package like that. And, Amazon, thanks for doing your job too. I appreciate you guys. You don't have to throw the package like FedEx does, like don't put it in front of my door either where I can't open it. I have to go out my garage just to go to the front door to slide it.
So there's going to be an Amazon worker or a FedEx worker or any delivery person. Somebody's going to keep ordering stuff and they're going to have video of them throwing their stuff onto the front lawn.
Oh yeah.
Or onto the porch, and it's going to break everything every time. And somebody's going to get fed up, and guarantee you, somebody's going to show up to deliver something, and that person is going to chase that person butt naked through the yard just to freak them out. And I guarantee you, they will never throw packages again, ever.
Oh man, yeah. UPS they one time put everybody's mail in my mailbox. Yeah, I'm on a training route, so and what happens is like when there's nobody to train, they just give our mail to another courier that finished early. So literally one day, everybody in my neighborhood, we got the mail, and my wife goes, my gosh, the mailbox is full of other people's mail. Did we get our mail? No, we did not get our mail. All right. So my wife, she's so nice and everything, just like goes and delivers everybody's mail. All the mail that we had, she delivers everybody's mail. We call the postal officer. Postal officer's like, all right, I'll get to the bottom of it right now. I'm going to call the guy right now. And, I'm like, there's no need to call the guy while I'm on the phone with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm letting you know this happened.
Yeah.
Try not to let it happen. Anyway, he wanted to call while I was on the phone. And, I hope no one got chewed out because, my bills were there. I'm sure my bills, don't want to be late.
See, that's the thing. If I had gotten my mail too,
yeah,
but everybody else, I got everybody else's mail too, I'd have just called everybody over to my house and what's your name? Here you go. Here you go. And then in each one, I would have just slipped one of my bills in.
Oh, that's funny.
And then they would have come back and said, hey, you mistake this, that we got your mail. I said, no, that's yours. I didn't want that. You can go ahead and pay that for me. I got you your mail. You take care of that for me, would you?
Oh, so fast forward a couple weeks, this mail courier comes by, does it again. And my wife goes, that lady just put everybody's mail in our mailbox. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like looking, and it's not everybody's mail this time. It's just a lot of people's mail, more than my mail, less than everybody's. So I go, okay. She goes, well, I guess I'll go deliver the mail. So my wife took the mail, and I don't know what the lady did because our neighborhood's kind of small, but she took a couple minutes before she came back out of the neighborhood to pass our house. So I flag her down. I stop her and I said, hey, you gave us everybody's mail. She's like, oh, did I? And I'm like, yeah, you gave us everybody's mail. She's like, oh, well, what house is yours? And I'm like, well, the house right here on the corner. She's like, well, I'll get the mail and I'll go ahead and deliver it. And I said to myself, you can't make a big deal of this. This lady's obviously, ready to break and flip out. And I said, well, that's okay. My wife actually just delivered all the mail. And she was like, well, why'd you tell me that? It's like, well, I wanted you to know that you personally put all of the mail in my mailbox.
The wrong mail in my
Yeah,
mailbox.
mailbox. And we have an issue here because I know you guys are a training route and not everybody is the same person that comes here.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, yeah, well, it's hard, like this isn't my route. And I already did my route. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, well, it has my name on it. It has my address on it. And the other mail you put on it has a different name and different address. So like out of the 7 addresses that were in my mailbox, one of them, like this is what's going in my head. Like one of them could be right. Like, the other ones could be different.
Right.
But, long story short, my mom said I talk too much, but, the short story is I told her and I said, will you please, and I gave her the name of the officer, the postal officer. I was like, will you please, tell him that this happened today. She's looking at me like, you want me to tell him myself? And I'm like, cause I'm going to call him and I'm going to talk to him and ask him if you told him. And she was like, I'll let my superior know and whatever. And so she drove off. And even to this day, we still get hiccups and mess ups in our mail, dude. Like not the same person. Sometimes a pickup truck that doesn't even have mail courier stickers on it will be delivering our mail. And I'm like looking at the dude. He's like, like got a passenger seat full of mail, just sticking it in the mailboxes. He's so far didn't mess up anybody else's mail yet, but we know that he comes around it like once a month.
The independent contractor doing everybody's job for him.
Man,
that's probably what it is.
Probably, yeah. That's like how do you get that gig, man?
I couldn't do that.
No. Yeah, I don't know how you could do what you do. You like it though.
Yeah, I do. The good days and bad, good days and bad for sure. But overall, it's been a pretty good experience. Everywhere is going to have their issues. Yeah. Any job, and where I work is not devoid of any issues. It's got its issues. But you kind of just got to find good leaders.
Yeah.
There are good leaders in every job, even if it's a bad job. You're bound to find at least one. So throughout my career, I found good leaders, stuck with them, found good officers, stuck with them. I was very fortunate that there have been a few instances where decisions were trying to be made that would have gotten me and other officers involved in trouble. Not necessarily violating anybody's rights, but just some issues, right? And if you have a good supervisor that you can go to and be like, hey, this is what I was just told to do by so-and-so, I got a bad feeling about this, or at least I don't have a really great feeling about this. What do we do here? And then when that person gives you their opinion that's very conflicting, you're like, okay, I'm going to go with this guy because he's definitely telling me there's an issue here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just gotta find out. You'll learn pretty quickly in this job who you do and don't want to hang around with. And if you don't listen to that gut feeling, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
You may not get in trouble right now. You're going to get in trouble later on at some capacity.
Yeah.
Right. There was an incident where I want to do a good job. And I guess this is kind of going back to the original topic of, bringing awareness to some things.
Yeah.
It's a sensitive topic. But I was in the office one day and I was approached by a person who claimed to have child pornography on their phone. It wasn't theirs. It was sent to them by a alleged victim. The victim had sent I assumed it was like a reaching out, like, hey, this happened to me, right? Because it was a video of it happening to them. So at the time, I never actually dealt with that. But based on other situations, I did what I thought was correct and that made sense to me.
Yeah.
So, long story short, typed up my report, submitted it. I got up the next morning, and I would always check my reports to see, because supervisors can reject it or send it back to him like, hey, you need to look back into this more. We need to find out more about this, investigate this a little. We need these details, whatever. Hey, what about this? Blah, blah, blah. They can't change your reports. They can submit it back and say, hey, we need something here in this area. Like, find more out about that. And my sergeant had about 8 paragraphs, it felt like, of exclamation points, all caps. Like, this dude is screaming at me.
Yeah.
And I was sick to my stomach because there were some details that I missed.
Yeah.
Thinking that I was doing the right thing.
Sure.
Right. So I was going into work that day. And so when I didn't respond to it. I closed my laptop. I was like, I'm going to deal with this when I get to work. So I went to him, and this is an officer that I trust wholeheartedly to this day. And I said, Sarge, I know you just sent me that whole thing. I said, after roll call, can I sit down with you and you walk me through step by step with this? This is something serious. I want to do this right. Please don't think that this was me slacking. I just did what I thought was right. And he was a very different person than what he typed out. It was just, he explained that his emphasis in the message to me, in the comments, was to get the point across, like, these are important points. So I'm like, I got that. Let's go over it. Will you go over it? He said, yes. So we sat down for about an hour. And when we went over, he's a great coach in that he explains to you the issue. He explains to you how you do it the right way. Then he explains to you why you do it the right way, why we're doing it this way, why it has to be done this way. And then he explains why we don't do it these other ways, right? So it's a very good coaching moment, because you question everything you do. And when I say question everything you do, don't question somebody's judgment. Don't undermine them, or I'm trying to think of a word here. I guess don't question their knowledge or whatever, their guidance that they're telling you. But it's okay to understand the whys and why nots, right? If you say, hey, you're going to build this bridge this way. Why? Maybe not say it like that, but it's okay to ask why. Why are we building it this way? Oh, glad you asked, because of the way it's structured, blah, blah, blah. I don't build bridge. I'm just using an example.
Sure, yeah.
So to an engineer who is new to maybe a method of building this bridge, he says, why do we build it? Why do you want to build it this way? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's, oh, I understand now, because I build bridges. That what you just said makes sense. I'm going to build it that way. It's okay to have an understanding of why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So question why you're doing what you're doing. If it's a new method, or if it's something you've never heard before, question it. Ask why. You'll learn something, and you'll understand it a little bit better. So that was a learning point, and that was one of the few, many times where I realized this is a good dude, and he's not going to steer me wrong, because he took an hour.
Yeah,
we took an hour, and it wasn't like wasted time. It was, he noticed that I was coming to him as a student, trying to master my craft. Yeah. And he acknowledged that, and he goes, this, he was looking at me thinking that he's probably thinking, this is a good officer. He wants to do the right job. So we sat down. We learned all the do's and don'ts. The next one I had, I remembered that. Thankfully, I've only had 2 of those.
Wow.
That's
too many. Yeah.
Let me tell you something, people. Tell you something. If you're thinking about getting into law enforcement, that's great. You can handle a shooting. You can absolutely handle doing that. You can handle looking at dead bodies. You can handle looking at dead kids. Something that will stick with you forever are those images. If you don't have to look at them, don't. Because technically you don't have to. It is a crime just to be in possession and view this stuff, right? What happened to me in both instances was the people who had this stuff on their phone, both instances, somebody had sent somebody this image or these videos. And what they do is, somebody sent me this, it's not mine, but it's child porn, look. And they just put it right in your face. And I'm like, God, get out of my face. Man. And it's burned into my eyeballs.
Yeah.
Right. that is what sticks with you the most. Because, like, even though it's not actively in front of your face, like you're not seeing it in real time,
Yeah.
that is a real image. That just happened to
Yeah.
somebody. That just happened to a child. This is happening, and it's happening all over. It's one of the most evil things I could think of.
Yeah.
Right. That is what you'll end up needing therapy for.
Yeah.
Seeing that too many times.
I know that like the Sean Ryan show
Yeah.
has been touching base with this topic a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, like I'm, trying to maintain a different type of podcast.
Yeah.
I don't mind going into the weeds and into the dark a little bit. Sean Ryan swims in it.
Yeah.
With that actually happening to you, and obviously, you're not the first officer that I've heard say they had to work a case when there was things that they had to see that they wish that they didn't have to, and unfortunately, if you're a detective, if you're somebody that actually has to learn what they're looking at,
Yeah.
let alone because like there's different sequences for not sequences. So there's a systematic thing that you have to do for every piece of evidence. Like you have
Yes.
to look at it. It has to be, I think, double looked at so everybody knows that it's been looked at.
The child porn is handled differently.
Okay.
Yeah, that it is so sensitive. There are certain things like murders.
Mhm.
You can email a picture possibly. You probably get permission, but there's nothing necessarily seriously illegal or wrong about it. Be respectful and let it be pertain to the case.
Sure.
But emailing somebody a picture of a crime scene that includes a dead body of a murder victim of something, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Oh my God, do not email child porn from your computer laptop to other officers in the agency.
Yeah.
That happens more than it should. I'm not just saying it happens where I work. I mean, that is a thing that has happened around before.
Yeah.
And that comes into, there's a lack of training somewhere. Don't do that ever, because now everybody's laptops has to get wiped and stripped, and just throw them away. Just get new laptops. That's what I tell people with phones, that if they receive child porn, they're turning it in because they're reporting the crime.
And that's even if they're trying to get it to you guys. Like there's appropriate ways to
Yes.
actually get it to the
Yes.
police.
Technically, it's illegal to be in possession of it, but we understand that people do receive things against their will, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
So we acknowledge the fact if they're reporting it pretty immediately, that they're not involved in that. So you're not going to charge that person typically with anything. That'd be ridiculous, because you got to report it.
Yeah, I mean, just to switch gears a little bit, we'll downshift or upshift, whatever you want to think about it. But like when COVID was happening, I received many, because like I'm in the film industry, so everyone in the film industry has a particular type of humor. This doesn't have to deal with anything with child stuff, but like you'll receive like, oh, there's a new protocol for set. Look at it, and you look at your text message, and you open up the link, and it's just a big burly guy naked or something like that.
Yeah,
like
I've been got by that.
Yeah, so like there are things that people send to people, for whatever reasons. Like you got to really watch what you're opening up.
Yeah.
Don't share your passwords. Don't share your bank accounts.
And something like that image, like that's definitely like the boys sending some stuff.
Yeah.
I got you. And it's like, you got me, but the stuff like this, don't. Like, and then because part of the process is we take the phone,
Sure.
right? Because there's a way to extract that information. There's a particular way to get it off. But the thing I've learned is that image may be deleted from the phone, and you may not be able to pull it back up, but there's a footprint. There's always a digital footprint that was there.
Yeah.
Just throw that phone away. Get a new
Let
one.
alone like even like
This phone had this. That you're mentally thinking, this phone had this. I don't want to touch that phone. Get a new phone.
Yeah,
Get a new phone.
man. You guys have to deal with so much crap, dude.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
you can't even,
Yeah.
just let alone the stupidity of some of the calls you go on,
Yeah.
right? People just from the low end of people calling the police for what, and then actually getting into the shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a spectrum,
Yeah.
and we deal with some specimens.
Yeah.
We deal with some specimens.
When it comes to, I know that so there was talk amongst YouTubers about with the defund the police movement, that it seemed like with the defund the police movement, there were trying to replace the police with social workers of some sort. Now, to me, that's like a crazy idea, because no matter how someone can be trained up socially, they're going to end up just seeing the same things that police officers see, and if they're not equipped with weapons or a way to protect themselves, and I have a feeling this is why it didn't work out. Like, there's just no way to protect them.
Yep.
How much of that? Now, I don't know if it came to Georgia or not, or if it came to any of the cities here. Was that ever brought up? Like, where you were, was everybody like, because you were an officer during all of that, defund the police movement and everything else. I mean, like,
it's still going on.
yeah. I mean, so it's like, what is like the temperature of that right now? Do you guys have anything to worry about as far as like internally, are these social workers, are they being forced to come out with you guys, or?
So, where I work, I will say it was attempted, and very quickly realized, like, yeah, that's not gonna work. So, and they weren't typically just social workers. They were people that could go out and handle non-emergency, more civil stuff. Technically a vehicle accident is technically civil.
Okay.
So that was, I think, discussed at one point, because police, that's who comes out and do police report for a vehicle accident.
Yeah.
But they quickly realized that even on a vehicle accident, some very basic stuff, the dynamic, they could change like that, you know? So typically what they decided, okay, well, we're not going to use them for that. Typically what they do now is they will, not only our department, but other places around, will hire people for, to sit at the precincts, because typically a precinct has to be manned by an officer to take reports from people who come into the precinct. If you have somebody employed in that area that's not an officer but still goes out and deals with stuff, you can have them housed at those precincts, or a headquarters or a sheriff's office, whatever agency you work for.
Yeah.
And you can have bodies in those seats that can take reports. Now, there's some reports an officer actually has to take, but some of the more basic ones, civil, hey, this person, very minor crimes and stuff like that, those people are still able to take those reports, and so it keeps officers on the road.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't have to pull bodies from the road or other resources into those very basic settings.
Yeah. Well,
that kind of works.
Okay.
But sending unarmed people
to domestic or something is crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, we had an instance in Pittsburgh where there was a domestic disturbance, something happened, and 3 officers went, and it was basically an ambush for the officer. Can you imagine? I mean, you can imagine anything. You are a police officer, but like, I would hate to send, Mary Lou, Kevin, and Gary to a domestic dispute, and those are my fictitious people. But like, then they think that I'm a mental therapist and I'm a psychologist, whatever, and they think they have this dynamic team to de-escalate a situation, and the dude's accidentally high on fentanyl or meth or whatever because he bought something he wasn't expecting ingesting.
Or he's just mad.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. And even that aspect, like people's tempers and attitudes.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on more domestic situations where people are just mad.
Yeah.
They're just mad at the world, mad at each other, and that's where all the issues started stemming from. Now, I've been on them where they've been high and they've been drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always fun. Or the more mentally unstable people. Those are they can be fun, seriously, but sometimes those are the worst ones because when they fight, they fight.
Yeah, I just can't imagine.
Thankfully, now I've gotten into some scraps, but thankfully I have. I don't want to say I've mastered it. I don't consider I'm a master of anything because there's always room for improvement training, but I've gotten very good at my verbal skills, kind of talking people down. A lot of people disagree with how I do things, but I tend to explain a lot to these people that I'm dealing with, right? Using a little bit of verbal judo. Some officers will, some officers pull people over on a traffic stop. My name is Officer such such. Do you have your driver's license on you? And if somebody says, what's the reason for the stop? Well, I'll tell you once you hand me your driver's license. No, I need to know why you stopped me. Hand me your driver's license, I'll tell you. And then it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Does that happen I mean, you see the videos on YouTube
happens all the time. Happens all the time. And I said, guys, listen. Hello, sir or ma'am. My name is Officer such and such department. The reason for the stop today, XYZ. Do you have your driver's license on you? Okay, you've now alleviated the question of why you pulled them over.
Yeah.
Now, they may argue with, well, I didn't do that. Well, yes, ma'am or sir, you did. I still need your driver's license, please. Be polite. Patrick Swayze said it best in Roadhouse. Be nice.
Yeah.
Beat the crap out of them if you have to. Throw them into the bar.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do. But be nice while you're doing it. Right? Yeah. There's no reason to be disrespectful. There's no reason to they're already getting pulled over by the police. Police are already at their doorstep. Right now, it's getting a little better, I think. It's gotten a little better. Not great. A little bit better. There's already that negative dynamic when they see cops. They're like, ooh, cops. Gonna fight, gonna run, do whatever. That's only going to be amplified if you're an ass.
Sure, yeah.
Just be nice.
Hey, and
you don't have to be legally. You don't have to be. There's some instances where you don't. Just okay. I get it. You don't have to be.
Yeah. Let me see if I got this right, because when I believe my dad told me this, when you do get pulled over, put both windows on your driver's side down. Put them down. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. Or no, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I have all my information right here. I mean, pull the stuff out before they even come to your door. It's sitting right on the dashboard. And whatever it is that they're saying you're doing, don't fight it. Because you don't fight it on the street. You fight it in the courtroom.
Yep.
And if you have any proof that you didn't do what the officer said that you were going to do, if you had any proof, it'll just, be better in the courtroom. So that has always been my take on it. My take changed a little bit when I was older and some friends started becoming police officers. I started saying, so do you know so-and-so? And do you know so-and-so? You know such and such. I know such and such. He's a good friend of mine. And I have to tell you that I never had to actually do that, but that was part of my repertoire when I was getting pulled over, and but I still, like, even to this day, tinted windows or no tinted windows, minivan or whatever, truck, whatever, I roll my window down. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Here's my information, driver's license, insurance, title, all the information that you would need is right here. And I always have it ready, and it's always in the glove box. And I feel like with that, you know, having that respect, the officer can already say, "Oh, this person is going to comply and work with me."
Right.
Yeah, because like I think that officers have enough trouble as it is. I mean, so many of my friends that are officers or firefighters, they, you know, firefighters, officers, EMTs, they're always doing something on the worst part of someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just, you got to have that mindset, man. And if you're a dude who's agitated because you just got laid off at work,
Mm-hmm.
you know, guess what, man? Your day's real shit. You don't have to make the officer's day real shit.
Well, I think it's the officer's almost responsibility to not make anybody's day worse than it already might be.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like you said, the guy you're pulling over as an officer, this guy might just gotten laid off from his job.
Yeah.
May already be just upset and mad at the world. Go into it just with the same mindset as you always go into it. Just be nice, be respectful. You know, I'd be honest, very rarely did I write people tickets.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely. They had to have been, there are certain areas where policy and legality dictates that I have to.
Mm-hmm.
So you find the at-fault driver of an accident, that person's getting a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much how it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
But like when I was working the road and I was working with a couple officers, we're doing some interdiction stuff. Anytime we were doing interdiction stuff, I just wanted to find the stuff I'm looking for: drugs, guns, people.
Yeah.
You know, I'd pull somebody over for tail light, not using turn signal, whatever, speeding, whatever, run red, whatever. Pull them over. Hello, sir, ma'am. Officer such and such with the such and such department. The reason for the stop today. Do you have your driver's license? Check, looking in their vehicle. Don't see anything. Looking on their person, see how they're reacting, whatever. See if I smell anything, alcohol, drugs, whatever. Walk back, run their information. They ain't got no warrants. I didn't smell anything, didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
They should be good to go. All right, sir. Hey, ma'am, whatever the issue was for the pullover, I'm gonna let you go today just with a warning. Just be careful or take care of that for me and have a nice day. What's wrong with that?
Sounds beautiful. Sounds like the perfect stop.
That person, whether they like law enforcement or not, especially if they don't like law enforcement, they're going to think, yeah, that was a cool cop, officer such and such. I like that guy. This has happened before. People who have been on traffic stops with officers where the officer treated them with respect and kindness and just treated them like you're just a brother on the street. Just like, hey, I would talk to you if I was just walking about and I wasn't an officer, right? Bump into each other at the gas station. Oh, pardon me, man. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to bump into you. Just be cordial, right? This has happened. An officer gets in a fight at a restaurant, a gas station, wherever they're at. Holy crap. There's Joe Schmo that he pulled over. He recognizes that officer. He's in a fight with somebody. Who's the first person to jump in?
Oh, wow.
Hey, you're messing with officer such and such. He was nice to me.
Mm.
They jump in and help.
Wow.
That has actually happened on multiple occasions. It's been documented.
Wow. That's really interesting.
You have to think about these things. There have been times where people got taken to jail by an officer who was still polite and cordial with them. Anytime I had somebody in custody, whether I had to fight with them or not, the moment I get handcuffs on them and they got in my car, I treat them with the utmost respect. First of all, I'm responsible for these people. They got to make it to the jail safely, right? If they don't, it's my ass.
Did you ever take anybody to McDonald's on the way to jail?
You're not technically supposed to make stops. I did.
Don't tell on yourself.
No. There was somebody who we had to arrest. Who I could tell he was really exhausted. Apparently, he had worked like 2 doubles in a row or something that. And his wife said, "Hey, he really hasn't eaten in like over 12, 18 hours." I was like, I can't really feed him. But I made an exception this one time. She said, I already made him a Hot Pocket. It's been in there for like an hour now.
Oh, wow.
I said, well, bring it out, cut it. I want to see you cut it in half. Make sure you're not sticking anything in there. And we did check it. It was just a Hot Pocket. I was like, all right, ma'am, I'm not going to uncuff him, but I'm standing right here. You can feed that to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he appreciated that.
Yeah.
You know, if they've been polite before we go, if we have time, depending upon the situation, I may let them smoke a cigarette if they want to. If they were already smoking, you know, and I had to arrest them and the cigarette's still lit and I know there's nothing in it, he's not trying to ingest anything. Okay. What?
Yeah.
People used to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. Cops used to be the biggest smokers on the planet because they were man's men. They smoked, they drank, whatever. I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, the dude's already going to jail. Why not make his time a little bit easier for me?
Oh,
you know, I mean, if this helps him not cause problems, and we can be cordial and get to the jail, and there not being issues, we're fine. The funniest ones I've had is who think they're going to get out of jail just because I didn't read them their rights.
Yeah,
which you don't have to read them their rights. If I'm not questioning them about anything, say if I go to a domestic and I already got everything I need to arrest them, that is something people don't understand. It's like law and order talk. The moment they put them in cuffs, you have the right to remain silent. And they'll look at me right before we get to the jail and they go, hey, man, you got to let me go. I said, really? Yeah. Well, tell me why. I'd love to hear this. You didn't read me my rights. I said, would you like me to? Well, it doesn't matter. You got to let me know now. Let me go now. I was like, well, I will tell you, you're wrong. But if you really want me to read you your rights, I'll read them in front of everybody in there so everybody knows theirs as well. He goes, yeah, man, you got to let me go. I saw it on the TV. I said, what channel? TNT? It's crazy what people see on the TV and the movies, and they think, oh, no, you're not getting out of jail for that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people out there, maybe we could warn this conversation on a funny note. You know, do you have a favorite story of something like that happened with like Super Troopers? You guys pulling pranks on one another, or anything you could talk about that put a smile on people's faces when they turn this show off?
So it didn't happen to me, but it happened to a good buddy of mine. And forgive me if I get this story wrong, sir. You know who you are.
Listen, good buddy. This is just off the cuff.
If I remember correctly, it was some type of, I think it was a property check type deal. So somebody called, said they had seen some guy. He had mental issues, right? I don't know the full details of this, but from what I remember correctly, and sometimes I get stories kind of like added together, but from my understanding, my buddy and his backup partner arrived on the scene, and they're looking for this guy. Opens the door in this huge, this is nighttime. And apparently, this dude's pretty black. Mm-hmm. And I was like, already hard. Like, it's just painting the picture. It's great. You got these two really, really skinny, small white dudes against this huge, like, linebacker, like, look like from the NFL. Yeah. Like, just your typical linebacker dude. And then, so I had this picture in my mind. I was just like, y'all were pissing your pants, man. This is great. And then this dude's naked. Oh, and from my understanding, he had a very, very large, very large adult item that would typically belong to a female.
Yeah.
Extremely large, like feet long.
Oh, man.
And was waving around like a pair of nunchucks and looked him dead in the face, said, y'all gonna meet God today.
Oh, my gosh.
And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure somebody just pulled out a taser and immediately just hit him with it because they weren't about to get into that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get hit with that either.
Yeah, I was like, And of course, we've had traffic stops. We pull people over. We're finding drugs and stuff. And then all of a sudden, we open the trunk and there's just dungeon toys.
Oh, my God.
And we're just like, whose is this? And they're like, no, it's mine. And I'm like, dude, there's no way.
There's just no need.
There's no way that's fitting, bro. A lot of those people that you find, they will cut up with you about it.
Oh,
They are
man.
pretty funny about it. I have had some laughs on the road with people we've arrested.
Dude, that is great. That is a wild, funny story. Well, dude, thank you again for stopping by and coming in. I mean, this is like
It's been a blast.
wild ride number one. I hope that you can find time to come back on again.
Oh, yeah.
I think that
We're kind of all over the place, but I think that's good.
well,
you know?
I mean, like when we had talked about you coming on, we had talked about maybe touching the base, like on some serious things.
Yep.
And we glanced at that,
Yeah.
and I think the conversation decided which way it wanted
Yeah.
to go. So
I guess last thing, real small thing is people just think about being prepared just for don't be complacent. Don't think it can't happen to you, because it absolutely can. Be as prepared as you can be. Get some training, get some self-defense stuff. Go to a gym and learn Muay Thai. Learn some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Just learn things. There's nothing wrong with learning. Go find somebody that you trust that can instruct you in shooting. If they're law enforcement, military, whatever, just find somebody you trust. Go out, put the reps in, and just be aware.
be safe.
Be safe. Yeah, be safe. That's the biggest thing. Protect yourself and protect others.
Yeah.
And maybe one day we'll have a podcast where we'll dive into it directly.
Yeah.
But, just guys, please, there's a lot going on in this world that just research things, research terrorism, research cartels, research trafficking, and you will be amazed. You mentioned the Sean Ryan show.
Yeah.
Guys, seriously, shout out to Sean Ryan and Sarah Adams for posting the intel briefs.
That was intense.
Yes, she does that they release her intel brief every Monday.
Yeah.
Subscribe to that podcast and get that intel brief. She usually gives a history on something. There's something every Monday. Once you get into that rabbit hole, it's hard to get pulled out, but it's useful information because it's happening all over.
Yeah. Well, dude, thanks again for coming on. I tell you, dude, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, man.
Anytime. Yeah, we'll have you on again. For the folks that are tuning in, this could have gone real serious conversation. I'm glad it was like lighthearted, and because I personally wasn't really ready for all the darkness, but
we got your feet wet a little bit.
Yeah. And
ease baby steps.
Tell me in the comments if you want to go deeper in this in this world, and we'll ask Crash back, and we'll see what we can dig up and do there.
If not, we'll just talk about movies. I'm okay with just talking about movies.
I wish, we have to get you back on, because like what you were telling me when we last hung out, it was actually really interesting. People should hear about it. But thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it, whether if I talk too much or if I'm doing a good job, whatever it is. The algorithm likes it, and we like you tuning in, man. Thank you so much. Crash, thanks again for coming in.
No problem.
Later, guys. Have a good one. Bye.